employees who claimed they were employees, but they actually weren't employees. Meaning what? Meaning, interestingly enough, lawyers. Funny. Lawyers would go to work for a town or a village, and the lawyers would say to the town or the village, rather than pay me as a lawyer, pay me as an employee. Why? Because if I get paid as an employee, then I get health benefits and I vest in the pension system. And the towns hire the lawyer to the town, sometimes at a reduced rate, and they put them on as an employee. This violated the old legal adage of too cute by a half. Have you learned that law yet? Too cute by a half. That's what these lawyers were doing, too cute by a half. You're an independent contractor or you're an employee. And there are criteria to determine whether you're an independent contractor or an employee, basically in the tax code, IRS law. They were not employees. They were lawyers with firms, lawyers who were individually practicing. They were independent contractors. Calling yourself an employee, vesting in getting health benefits, getting pension benefits would be nice, but it was not legal. That was a scam we saw. And a pervasive situation is what they call pension padding, pension spiking, which is what? Which is a person is ready for retirement, person did 20 years, 30 years, whatever the period of time. You now have to determine the income to determine what the pension is. Okay, 50% of income, 50% of your salary. What salary level do you pick? Do you pick the salary at the first year? Do you pick the salary at the last year? Most of the contracts say we'll pick the salary in the last 3 years, sometimes the highest in the last 3 years. And this then becomes a very big question, because that salary in the final year or the final 3 years is going to determine the rate of the pension for the rest of your life. There is obviously an incentive to increase your salary in the last year or the last 3 years. That's a normal incentive. But it has to be done legally, and it has to be done properly. There is a rampant pattern, which is in the final year or 3 years, depending on what the contract calls for, all of a sudden the salary goes way, 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 way up. Way up. Disproportionate to the salary for the rest of the relative universe. Why? Because people want to inflate their salary to inflate their pension. Well, is it legal? Is it proper? Is there fraud? And how are you doing it? Also, interestingly, when you look across the state, this pattern is very different in different parts of the state. Some places it happens frequently, some places it happens rarely, some places it only happens a little bit. Well, is it a big deal? It's a very big deal. Highway Department employee, $43,000 base pay, inflated pay during the relevant period, $27,000. The final pay winds up being $70,000. That inflated pension over the life of the pension is about $200,000 to taxpayers. Police officer, $74,000 base pay. These are actual cases. $125,000 is the inflated pay. So the final pay is $199,000, about $200,000. Over the life of the pension, that's an additional $1.25 million for the taxpayers. You multiply that by the number of employees who are in the system, roughly $700,000. You see how quickly the numbers add up. This situation, like many situations that we find in the state, Steve was referring to, this has been going on for a long time. It's one of those Albany stories. It's been going on for a long time. Everyone knows it, but nobody's done anything about it. This is not new. You go home and you talk to someone about this today, this pension padding, pension spiking, they give it a new fancy name, but they'll say, oh no, we heard this, that people inflate their salaries the past, last couple of years. We've heard this has been going on for years. Yes, it's been going on for years. But our point is, at one point, enough is enough. It should have never gone on. It should have never been tolerated. It should have been stopped a long time ago, but now it has to be stopped. And I'll end where I started. It's about the context. It's about the time. All these inefficiencies, all these scams, all this waste, all this incompetence that has been commonplace in the state of New York. All these little situations that are intolerable, but they just are explained and they go on year after year after year. Now it has to stop. Now it has to stop. If we don't get these costs under control in the state, and all the costs wind up going to the taxpayer, and it's a state tax or it's a property tax that is crushing families across this state. If you don't get control of these costs and do something about it, this state will have a different kind of future. Because people will vote with their feet and they will leave. It will happen. And with this context, where people are being squeezed from both sides, and life is tough, they're not going to tolerate this kind of inefficiency and this kind of waste. And it's wrong for government to do. The first pledge of government is we're going to try to do everything we do. And we're going to use government as a vehicle to do good things and to make this a stronger place to live in a stronger community. But we're going to do it with respect to the taxpayer. Because at the end of the day, that's what we all work for. And if we're not delivering for the citizens, then who are we delivering for? Yes, it's a tough issue. Yes, it's gone on for a long time. But today is a new day, and today is a different time, and situations like this have to stop. How does it stop? As Steve said, you stand up, you acknowledge the problem, you face it, you deal with the opposition, you find a solution that's reasonable, and you move on. And you do it together. You do it together. I can't do it alone. County government, control of polling cards, Mayor Brown, legislative officials, because I believe at the end of the day, there's also going to be required to have legislative changes here. Together, we can do it. Together, we can do it. This state has done a lot of great things. Many of the lawyers who are in this room now, you're going to be doing great things. You're going to be taking on challenges far tougher than this. But acknowledge the problem, work together, and understand that at one point, just because you've done it for years, is not a rationalization to continue to do it. And that's the point we're at in this state. Thank you very much for having me. Thank you, and God bless.